Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a frustration I think we've all felt.
Oh, yeah.
I was just looking at a map of my own city, and it's so fragmented. You have a great hospital over here, but the university that trains the nurses is a 40-minute drive away.
Right?
The housing is somewhere else entirely, and the factories making, the actual supplies the hospital needs, they're probably on another continent.
It's the classic silo problem. We build everything in these neat little boxes, but healthcare doesn't work in boxes. It works in flows.
Exactly. And when you break the flow, the whole system becomes fragile. If one truck gets stuck in traffic, the whole hospital can grind to a halt.
And that fragility is the perfect entry point for what we're looking at today. We've got this massive stack of documents here for a project called the Citadel Health City in Enugu, Nigeria.
I have to admit, when I first saw the name, I thought, okay, another hospital master plan. But then I started reading, and the scale is just, well, it's kind of bewildering. This isn't a building. It's a 200-hectare ecosystem. The price tag is almost 390 million US dollars.
It's massive, but I think the size is actually the least interesting thing about it. The Citadella is fascinating because it's trying to be a self-healing organism. It's like the planners looked at every single point of failure in the regional healthcare system and said, we're not going to fix that. We're going to build a wall around it and create our own reality.
That sounds intense. The documents call it the city that heals itself. So before we get into the nuts and bolts, what's the actual mission here? Why build this Death Star of a hospital in Enugu?
Well, the executive summary lays out 3 crises they're trying to solve at once, and they're huge. First, just the lack of what they call Tier 1 medical infrastructure.
So top-level care.
Exactly. If you need complex surgery, you're not getting it locally. You're flying to London or Dubai.
Second is the supply chain insecurity. You can't run a world-class hospital if you're constantly running out of saline or basic antibiotics.
And the third one, which I think is fascinating, is what they call brain drain.
Right, the documents use a specific term for it, Japa risk.
Yeah, Jaffa. It's Nigerian slang. It basically means to flee.
Yeah.
It's about this mass exodus of doctors, nurses, all the skilled professionals leaving Nigeria for the UK or the US.
So the whole project is designed to solve that.
The risk assessment is brutally honest. It says, we can build the most amazing facility in the world, but if everyone Jaffa's, it's just an empty, expensive shell.
Okay, so treat patients, make sure the medicine never runs out, and convince the doctors to stay. Let's start with the treatment. Section 1 is a core, a 250-bed hospital. The equipment list is aggressive. 2 Da Vinci robotic surgical systems.
And those cost about $4.6 million each.
Plus 3 TMRIs, 256 slice CT scans.
Yeah.
This is the best of the best. But I have to play skeptic here. You could drop a $5 million robot anywhere, but these things are delicate. They need stable power, constant maintenance. In a region with known infrastructure issues, isn't this just a recipe for a very expensive paperweight?
That is absolutely the right question, and it's why the ecosystem part matters so much. If this was just a standalone hospital building, you're right, those robots would be useless in 6 months.
So it's different.
The hospital is just one of 7 operational sectors. It's supported by its own industrial sector, its own education sector, its own residential sector.
And I saw an air ambulance base in there, too.
That's key to the business model. 2 helicopters connecting not just to Lagos, but directly to offshore oil platforms. That answers the who pays for all this question.
So they're the go-to trauma center for the oil and gas industry.
Precisely. An insurance company would much rather pay for a short helicopter ride to a world-class facility in Enugu than a massive medical evacuation flight all the way to Europe.
The oil rigs subsidize the local care. That makes sense. But let's talk about the supply chain, because this is where the plane goes from hospital to something else entirely. We need to talk about the pharma factory.
This is, for my money, the single most important part of the entire strategy. Section 2 details an on-site, GMP-certified pharmaceutical manufacturing facility.
And GMP means good manufacturing practice. So international grade stuff.
Exactly. They're planning to produce 50 million units a year. Tablets, IV fluids, injectables. The whole point is vertical integration. A hospital running out of basic saline solution is a preventable tragedy. By making it next door, you just eliminate that risk.
I get the security part for sure.
But there, a guaranteed authentic drug from a GMP facility commands a massive premium. Hospitals will pay way more to know they aren't giving a patient chalk.
Plus, there are no middlemen.
No middlemen, and they're selling directly to their own hospital first. The factory is the engine.
That's a brilliant, if a little depressing, arbitrage on trust. Speaking of niche markets, There's another revenue stream here I really did not see coming. Section 3, innovation in senior living.
Yes.
They're building 120 chalets just for the elderly. Now, wait, isn't there a huge cultural barrier there?
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is that in many West African cultures, you care for your parents at home. A home is seen as abandonment.
You're right about the traditional culture, but the Citadella isn't betting on tradition, it's betting on the reality of the diaspora.
What do you mean?
You have millions of successful Nigerians living in Houston, London, Atlanta. They're working intense jobs, they send money home to their parents, but they're constantly worried.
Worried about what, specifically?
Is mom taking her blood pressure medication? Is the nurse we hired actually any good? What if dad has a fall in the middle of the night? The pitch isn't put your parents in a home. The pitch is give your parents a luxury resort lifestyle with 247 medical care so you can sleep at night in Houston.
So they're selling peace of mind to the kids who live abroad.
Exactly. And it's a financial powerhouse.
Yeah.
They're projecting $600,000 a month from that sector alone.
Okay, so we've got the robot hospital, the pill factory, and the luxury senior living. But this brings us right back to the people. You need hundreds of skilled humans to run all this, and we already said the JAPA risk is huge.
It's the critical bottleneck. If all your top nurses leave for the UK after 2 years, the whole thing falls apart.
And the solution in the documents is called a golden cage, which sounds a bit dark, but I get it. Make life inside so good they don't want to leave.
Yeah.
They're building a med village with 180 townhouses.
Right.
But again, let me play devil's advocate. I'm a neurosurgeon. I can get a visa for the U.S. and make $400,000 a year. Is a nice townhouse really going to stop me?
A townhouse by itself? No. Of course not.
Oh.
The salary gap is too big. But the strategy is deeper than that. It's about removing all the friction from daily life.
The love admin problems.
Exactly. Think about that surgeon. Maybe she's on a night shift. Her biggest stress isn't just her salary, it's her family. Who's watching the kids? Is their school any good? Is it safe?
And the Citadel solves that.
That's why the education sector includes a 247 creche.
A 247 daycare.
Yes. So if you're called in for an emergency surgery at 2 a.m., your child is safe and sleeping in a professional facility 5 minutes from the OR. They also have a K-12 international school on site, so the pitch becomes, sure, go to London and earn more cash, but here you have no commute, your rent is zero, your kids are in a great school, and you live in a secure green campus. The quality of life might actually be higher.
It's a bubble of convenience. And it looks like they aren't just retaining talent, they're planning to create it. There's University of Health Sciences.
That's the long game. Train 400 students at a time, create your own pipeline of nurses and pharmacists. It's the same logic as the pharma factory. Don't import what you can manufacture yourself.
And that includes manufacturing power. We talked about the fragile grid. Section 5 is called the city that never stops, and the engineering here is pretty intense.
It has to be. You cannot run an MRI machine, let alone a ventilator, on an unreliable municipal grid. The Citadella is designed as a total island.
I'm seeing a 10-megawatt peak solar plant. That is huge for a private facility.
It is. By steady state, that's generating 14,000 megawatt hours a year. They estimate it will cover 57% of the entire city's needs just from the sun.
And water.
Totally self-sufficient. They capture and treat 5,000 cubic meters a day, and they recycle all the gray water for irrigation to keep that med village looking green.
I was reading the construction notes about the foundations. It sounds like building this island is a literal fight with the ground itself.
Oh, yeah. The soil in Enugu is a nightmare for engineers. It's very porous, almost spongy. If you put a heavy building on top, especially one with lead-lined radiology rooms, it's going to sink or crack.
So how do you fix that?
Piles. Deep ones.
Yeah.
They have to drive concrete piles 35 to 45 meters into the ground to hit stable bedrock.
45 meters. That's like burying a 15-story building underground just to hold up the building on top.
Exactly. It shows you the level of permanence they're aiming for. This isn't some temporary clinic. Phase 1 of construction is basically just driving those piles into the ground. It's slow, it's expensive, but it's the only way you guarantee your multi-million-dollar robot doesn't get knocked out of alignment because the floor shifted.
Okay, so we've got the vision, the tech, the factories, the underground skyscraper. Let's talk timeline. This is a 48-month plan. How do you go from an empty field to a city?
It's a really smart phased rollout. You don't just open the doors on day one and hope for the best.
So phase 1 and 2, the first couple of years, that's all the heavy infrastructure.
Right. Foundations, the steel skeletons, and getting that pharma factory online as quickly as possible to start generating revenue. But the part I love is phase 4, the soft launch at month 37.
What's a soft launch for a hospital look like?
It means they only open 80 of the 250 beds. This is the debugging phase. It's like launching new software. You have new staff, new IT systems connecting everything. If you open at full capacity, it's chaos.
And a bug in a hospital isn't just an error message. It's a patient safety crisis.
You don't beta test on critically ill patients, so they take almost a full year to ramp up, stress test their systems, and build the culture before they hit what they call steady state at month 48.
And at month 48, the financials are supposed to be fully operational, consolidated revenue of $23.6 million a month.
With an EBITDA margin for the entire project of around 66%.
That number still seems unbelievably high for healthcare.
It is high. It's all driven by those cross-subsidies we talked about. But the really key number for investors is the IRR, the internal rate of return. It's 15.8%.
Translate that for us.
It means if you're a global pension fund or a sovereign wealth fund looking for a place to put your money, an IRR of nearly 16% on a hard infrastructure project is very, very attractive. It completely changes the conversation from charity to business.
That's the whole shift, isn't it? This isn't framed as aid. It's framed as invest in this engine and you will get a solid return.
And that's what makes it sustainable. Aid can dry up. A profitable business keeps running. The Citadel model is basically arguing that the only way to solve this kind of crisis is to make it profitable to do so.
A bold thesis. So, as we wrap up, what does a project in Nigeria teach us, sitting here in our supposedly developed, stable economies?
I think it teaches us about resilience. The world is getting more volatile, right? We've seen pandemics, supply chain shocks, energy crises. The Citadella is a bet that the safest way to operate is as a self-contained ecosystem. Don't rely on the grid, have your own solar, don't rely on global shipping for your medicine, make your own.
It's like a luxury survival bunker disguised as a city.
It's about sovereignty, infrastructure sovereignty, and I think we're going to see more of this everywhere.
Yeah.
The era of just trusting the wider system to provide everything might be coming to an end. The Citadel is just ahead of the curve because it had to be.
That is a thought to chew on. If a hospital in Enugu has to become its own city just to function properly, maybe the institutions we're building are just too small, too dependent. Maybe we need to stop thinking about buildings and start thinking about ecosystems.
That seems to be the lesson. Integration isn't just a buzzword, it's a survival strategy.
Well, on that note, we are going to wrap up our deep dive into the Citadella Health City. A huge ambition, a really fascinating model, and maybe a blueprint for the future. Thanks for diving in with us.
My pleasure, as always.
We'll catch you on the next one.